Hey everyone, before we dive into today's video, I wanted to take a moment to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, Paladin Cards. If you're a fan of collectible card games such as Elestrals, Pokemon, and Magic, you're going to love what Paladin Cards has to offer. They provide an amazing selection of cards to choose from and such amazing deals. They are a veteran-owned and community-focused company. As a fellow veteran, it's an honor and privilege getting to partner with and support Paladin Cards as a veteran to another veteran. I do most of my bulk buying for Elestrals through Paladin Cards. They have amazing bundle deals and cases for sale. Not many other places offer that. Right now, Elestrals is starting pre-orders for their newest set, Moonrise. And the deals are out of this world and I recommend buying from them. I know I have. So if you want to level up your game nights, check out Paladin Cards. You can find the link in the description below. And don't forget to use my code LUNARIANS for a 5% discount on top of these amazing deals. Thank you for supporting the channel and our awesome sponsor, Paladin Cards. Now let's get back to the video. Alright, what's good YouTube? It's SorenPlays back again with another episode of Mythological Mondays. This time we're delving back into base set to cover the last 12 runes that are inspired by Greek or other mythology. So let's get right into it. First off is Eruption. Now you may be thinking to yourself, why is Eruption on here? Well, as I said in previous videos, as you see Krakatuga on the card, and there's Vesuvatuga, Eruption is based on Mount Vesuvius, which is a volcano that has erupted in the past and is what destroyed Pompeii. But there is a lot of mythology behind Mount Vesuvius. So, for example, it was considered a divinity of the genius type at the time of eruption of AD 79. It appears under the inscribed name Vesuvius as a serpent in the decorative frescoes of many household shrines. In Roman religion, the genius is the individual instance of a general divine nature that is present in every individual person, place, or thing. According to legend, the Roman god Vulcan was angered with the people of these cities for the immoral behavior and caused Vesuvius to erupt, bringing into Ashen Sea. Under Ashen lava, not sea. But as you can tell, that's the basis for eruption, why I went with it. Along with the theme, we will now be talking about tsunami and earthquake. I'm going to talk about them hand in hand because they correlate to each other. This is how I'm going to correlate them. Atlantis. Everyone knows Atlantis. So, rumor has it that Atlantis was a city before it sunk into the bottom of the sea. And now you may be wondering, how did it sink? Well, according to the legend of Atlantis, the island sank into the ocean in a single night and day due to earthquakes and floods, so tsunami, caused by the gods as punishment for the Atlanteans' immoral behavior. Once again, gods got angry at a city, decided to do something about it. Also, the story of Atlantis may have been inspired by a volcanic eruption on the Greek island of Thera. So once again, this goes back to eruption, tying it in as well for these three cards. So very fitting that Elestrals has done this. I don't know if that part was intentional or not, but it's kind of cool to see. So the eruption was accompanied by tsunamis and earthquakes that devastated the island and the surrounding coastlines. That's cool. So we're going to move on to that. Next, we have Ambrosia, which I am also going to talk about with Nectar of the Gods because they go hand in hand. So this is the interesting part because I've always wondered why these were two separate cards. And I can kind of understand why they kind of differentiated them. So Ambrosia, Nectar of the Gods, is a food or drink of the Greek gods. It is often depicted as conferring longevity or immortality upon whoever consumed it, which is why Ambrosia heals us, which is very important in the game of Elestrals, to keep us alive. It was brought to the gods in Olympus by doves and served either by Hera or by Ganymede at the heavenly feast. Ambrosia is very closely related to the god's other form of sustenance, nectar. The two terms may not have originally been distinguished, so back then they were interchanged. Though in Homer's poems, nectar is usually the drink and ambrosia is the food of the gods. It was with ambrosia that Hera cleansed all defilement from her lovely flesh, and with ambrosia, Athena prepared Penelope in her sleep, so that when she appeared for the final time before her suitors, the effects of use had been stripped away and they were inflamed with passion at the sight of her. On the other hand, in alchemy, nectar is a food and ambrosia is a drink. So they have been interchanged back and forth. So even when Elestrals first came out, I was under the impression Nectar of the Gods has always been known as Ambrosia, Nectar of the Gods. So I always thought they were the same thing. But in essence, they're two separate things that can be interchanged, which is cool that Elestrals has taken that and separated them and given them their own individual effects. Next is Drops of Leaf. Now, Drops of Leaf is pretty cool. You don't see a lot of play for this, but I think we're going to start seeing more and more of it because I think it's kind of interesting. So Leaf is the river of forgetfulness in Greek mythology. It is one of the 5 rivers of the Greek underworld. The other 4 are Artron, the river of sorrow, Cocytus, the river of lamentation, Phlegethon, the river of fire, and Styx, the river that separates earth and the underworld. According to Statius, Leaf bordered Elysium, the final resting place of the virtuous. Ovid wrote that the river flowed through the cave of Hypnos, who was a god of sleep, where its murmuring would induce drowsiness. So it's kind of interesting that the river of forgetfulness ties into Drops of Leaf to where you return a number of cards from your hand like you're forgetting they exist and replacing them with something else. That's a cool tie-in. I really appreciate and love that lore. But that's it for Drops of Leaf. Next, we're going to the Golden Apples. And as you see on the artwork for Golden Apple, you have Lotagon, who is based on Ladon, the dragon that guarded the Garden of Hesperides. So the Garden of the Hesperides is Hera's orchard in the west, where either a single apple tree or a grove grows, producing golden apples, hence the Golden Apple of Discord. According to legend, when the marriage of Zeus and Hera took place, the different deities came with nuptial presents for the latter, and among them the goddess Gaia, with branches having golden apples growing on them as a wedding gift. Hera greatly admired these, begging of Gaia to plant them in her gardens, which extended as far as Mount Atlas. So the Hesperides were granted the task of tending to the grove and watching over them, and they occasionally picked apples for themselves to eat. That's why they had Lotagon put in place, because Hera didn't trust them, so she put in Lotagon as the safeguard to protect it. In the myth of the judgment of Paris, it was a garden that Paris, the goddess of discord, obtained the apple of discord, which led to the Trojan War. So once again, this leads into more Greek mythology and history of the apple of discord by Eris, leading to the Trojan War. That's cool. I wonder if we'll see Eris as a divine rune or just a rune in general. We will see. I can't wait to find out. Next is Necklace of Harmonia. This card has started to cause a lot of fun decks because the latest fun deck that's been out there is Fire Argo, where you use Argo to get Necklace of Harmonia out on the field to protect your Elestral from being destroyed. Excuse me. And the next turn, you'll be able to Nexus off of it onto something else, being able to pop a back row or with Kinleo to pop an Elestral. It's really strong and really powerful to get over. You kind of circumnavigate its effect of, if you still have it on your field, you take 2 using the Argo strategy. So, fun fact, the Necklace of Harmonia has another name called the Necklace of Aerophile. It was a fabled object in Greek mythology that, according to legend, brought great misfortune to all of its wearers or owners, who were primarily queens and princesses of the ill-fated House of Thebes. So what happened was, Festus found out that his wife, Aphrodite, was cheating on him with the god Ares. And then when it came time for their daughter's wedding, gave Necklace of Harmonia as a gift to his daughter. And it caused great misfortune, and it was passed on. Kind of cruel to do to your daughter, but it is what it is. Next is Pandora's Box. I'm sure a lot of people know what Pandora's Box is because it's been used in a lot of media. So Pandora's Box is an artifact that connected with the myth of Pandora. Hesiod, who was a poem writer, related that curiosity led her to open a container left in the care of her husband, thus releasing curses upon mankind. Now, out of all the curses that were released upon mankind, there was something else that stayed in the box, and that is where hope comes from. Hope was the one thing that stayed in the box. So later depictions of the story have varied, with some literary and artistic treatments focusing more on the contents and on Pandora herself, which is fair because it's Pandora's Box, and you don't want to let loose Pandora's Box because of the misfortunes that were released upon mankind, such as plague, and I forget some of the others off the top of my head. Well, Plague is the biggest one. So nothing else really to talk about. Pandora doesn't get a lot of play either. I think it has some niches, but still hasn't really done anything. Next is Shield of Achilles. Really popular card. It's starting to get less play just because you're only stalling for one turn, and then unless it's a big guy, 2 or 3 drop, then you might stall for a little longer. Excuse me. As the name says, Shield of Achilles is Shield of Achilles. So Achilles used this in his fight with Hector, which was famously depicted in the Iliad. There's a lot of detail imagery on the shield, and it has inspired many different interpretations of its significance. Nothing really else to talk about. There's not like a myth behind the shield of it being a sacred object or anything. It's just a shield that Achilles used in his fight against Hector in the Iliad. Next, we have Charon's Oval, which is, you see, it's cool because you have carry on and you have the gold coin. So Charon's Oval is very interesting because it's an elusive term for the coin placed in or on the mouth of a dead person before burial. Greek and Latin literary sources specify the coin as an oval and explain it as a payment or bribe for Charon, the ferryman who conveyed souls across a river that divided the world of the living from the world of the dead. I think this has been carried on to even pirates placing coins over the eyes of dead people to carry on. I think it's cool that you have to pay passage, so to do that you place a coin on the body. It's really cool, especially that you have carry on carrying the coin. Nothing really else needs to be said for that. Charon's Oval has a few interesting plays. Maybe we'll see more of it now that Carry On has an extension in Moonrise called Carry Off. We shall see. Last but not least is Helios Chariot Ride. Now this itself doesn't have any myths. It's just Helios Chariot Ride is a chariot of Helios, the sun god. So the sun god drove a golden chariot across the sky each day, bringing the sun from the east to the west. The chariot was drawn by 4 horses, which is why if you look over here, you'll see 4 leashes. That'll be for the 4 horses. The names of the horses are Pyrois, Aeolus, Aethon, and Phlegon. I'm curious to see if those 4 Elestrals or horses will come to Elestrals. I think it's cool because Pyrois would be the horse for fire. Aeolus would be, I'm assuming, wind because Aeolus. Aethon could be water, and Phlegon could be earth or terra. I'm curious to see how that gets played out. Maybe Aethon and Phlegon could be solar and lunar. It's tough to say, but we'll see what happens there. Helios Chariot is really well known for the Blazers OTK deck. It's very devastating. I've played against it a couple times. Unfortunately, my opponents never was able to have the Helios played for the OTK part, and I've been able to stop them. But it's still devastating. It prevents anyone from playing counter runes that turn, or cast any runes that turn. It's pretty devastating. So that's it for base set. We're completely done. We've covered the runes, we've covered the Elestrals, we've covered all things mythology. If I've missed anything, I'm sure people will let me know in the comments. Next episode, we'll delve into Frostfall and go over the last couple of runes that we did not discuss in Frostfall. And then that'll be it. We'll then go into Daybreak after that. And then we'll be on a short break till Moonrise comes out. So this is SorenPlays signing off. Bye.